June 6, 1944, D-Day, by Daniel Vaughn. They told us the beach would be hell. They were wrong. Hell was too clean, too simple. This was something worse. The sea thrashed around our Higgins boat, angry and cold. Grey sky above, grey water below, and nothing in front of us but a smudge of land and a promise of death. 30 of us stood shoulder to shoulder, soaked to the bone, rifles clutched like crosses. I couldn't feel my hands anymore, just the thud of my heart and the rising wail of artillery in the distance. 2 minutes, the pilot of the boat shouted over the engine. Then the mortars started falling. I heard the first one whistle in, a long falling scream. Then the eruption as it struck a boat off our left flank. I turned just in time to see the fireball consume half the craft. Men flew through the air, their limbs flailing like broken marionettes, before vanishing into the channel. Another hit behind us. The shock wave slapped our hull. One guy puked all over his boots. Nobody looked anywhere but at the ramp that was about to fall open. 30 seconds. I checked my M1 one last time, though I already knew the action was clean. We were all pretending like cleaning our weapons would make us ready, but nothing could prepare you for a beach landing under fire. The ramp dropped, and the gates of hell swung wide. Machine gun fire stitched through the front ranks before they even stepped off. Men screamed, fell, and were crushed underfoot by those trying to get off the boat. I dove off the side, hitting the water hard with my rifle raised above my head. Cold, blinding salt water was filling my mouth and nose. I saw bodies sinking all around me, followed by red blood trails hissing from their bodies. My lungs started to burn, and I kicked like hell to reach the surface. When I came up, I surfaced into a nightmare. Gunfire cracked like 1,000 whips. Mortars turned men to meat. The beach was a churned-up mess of blood, smoke, and broken bodies. Screams from every direction mixed with the stench of blood, fuel, and fire. I crawled through the sand, dragging myself past burning packs, scattered helmets, and the bodies of men with faces half missing. That's when I heard it. A scream, but not like a man. Higher, sharper, wrong. It cut through the sound of gunfire and death like it didn't belong here. It echoed across the beach for just a moment, bouncing off the cliffs and the waterline, fading into the roar of war. "What the hell was that?" someone shouted nearby, who was ducked behind a tank trap. "I think someone got lit up," another said, but he didn't sound convinced. I didn't say anything. I just pressed deeper into the sand, heart pounding, fingers white-knuckling my rifle. Machine guns from the bunkers raked across the sand in sweeping arcs, mowing down everything in their path. Tracers burned the air like fireflies from hell. One man stood to run and caught a burst across the chest. His body jerked and folded like a ragdoll. We pushed forward, 1 bloody inch at a time. Barbed wire tangled men like nets. I heard a lieutenant barking orders at his men and was abruptly cut off as he ran over a landmine. I saw a medic crying as he tried to shove a man's intestines back inside his body. Then I saw something else. It was a quick shimmer, like heat off asphalt. Up the beach, about 50 feet, a small assault team was sprinting up the beach toward a German bunker. I saw the shimmer twist mid-air, and suddenly 3 guys were torn open like wet paper. I thought it was another mortar. It had to be, but I could have sworn it looked like something was moving through them. Our advance was halted dead in its tracks when one of the bunkers sighted us in and forced us to take cover wherever we could find it. We were pinned down halfway up the beach. Most of us took cover in a crater blown into the sand by mortar fire. The German bunkers above spat fire constantly, peppering the shoreline with bursts of MG-42 fire that chopped men apart like wheat in a thresher. To my right, Sergeant McCain screamed, "Suppress those damn nests," pointing up toward the pillboxes embedded into the hillside. A line of us opened fire, rifles cracking toward the firing slits. I saw sparks bounce off the concrete, rounds hitting wide or disappearing into the dark mouths of the bunkers. It felt useless, like throwing pebbles at a fortress, but we had to shoot something. To our left, one of the flamethrower operators was crawling forward and sneaking up on a machine gun nest, tank on his back, nozzle in hand, flanked by 2 riflemen. He popped up into a crouch, aiming toward the nest. I could not believe they didn't see him. Then it happened. A sniper round, or maybe just a lucky burst, hit the fuel tank. The explosion was instant, violent. He didn't scream. There wasn't time. Fire erupted in all directions, a blooming sphere of orange and red that incinerated him and one of the men next to him. The other guy flailed, face lit with reflected flame, then dropped to the ground and didn't move. The rest of us ducked instinctively, the heat from the blast washing over us with searing heat and the smell of charred flesh. "Holy shit!" someone yelled. "Keep moving," another barked. "We're sitting ducks down here." We all jumped up and started sprinting toward the hillside. As I was running through the gunfire and sand being thrown up from mortars, I saw it, that same shimmer again. Like the air itself was bending. It darted between explosions and weaved its way through the battlefield. I thought I was seeing things, shell shock maybe, but whenever it passed, someone died. Not from bullets or bombs, they were torn. Men were shouting, firing up at the hillside, trying to keep the bunker's gunners down, long enough to crawl forward a few more feet. We leapt from crater to crater, from body to body. Muzzle flashes lit the cliffs. Every few seconds, another Marine dropped from the barrage of bullets, screaming or silent. We scrambled up the hillside like rats under fire, kicking loose dirt and blood-soaked sand as machine gun rounds cracked inches over our heads. The pillboxes loomed above us like concrete eyes of death set deep in the cliffs. Men dropped all around, ripped apart by crossfire, but we kept moving. We had to. "Suppressing fire! Left side!" Sergeant McCain roared. "Go! Go!" Our rifles barked back at the slit windows of the bunkers. Some of us shot, some just screamed and ran. I caught sight of a German tossing a potato masher grenade from a dug-in trench above. I squeezed the trigger and caught him in the chest, but the grenade still tumbled down and bounced twice before landing way too close to me. I turned my back to it and got half a step into my run when it went off. I didn't hear the explosion. I just felt the world go white and my legs lift off the ground. Something hot sliced into my side, and I hit the dirt with a scream I didn't hear. I had the taste of blood, fire, and dirt in my mouth. Pain bloomed in my ribs like a hot nail had been driven in and left there to smolder. "Get up!" someone shouted. Then hands were yanking me up by the webbing on my pack. As I stumbled along, I saw that there were only 5 or 6 of us left now. We reached the face of the bunker. It was a dark grey concrete scorched black with soot. A small iron door hung slightly open. Smoke was pouring out like breath from a corpse. We didn't wait. One guy kicked the door wide and lobbed in a frag. The explosion popped like thunder, and we poured in, rifles up, boots pounding the stone. Inside the bunker was chaos. A German with a knife lunged out of the smoke. McCain caught him mid-charge, driving his bayonet into his gut and twisting it. Another German opened fire from behind an overturned metal desk. Rounds clanged off the walls. One of ours took a shot to the face and dropped instantly, helmet rolling away like a coin. I fired, caught the shooter in the chest, and watched him crumple behind the table. A third German rushed with a sidearm and was cut down by two men on my right. Blood smeared the walls. The bunker smelled like oil, rust, and burning flesh. Gunfire echoed like thunder in a cave. The firefight lasted less than a minute, but felt like a lifetime. Then, silence. Just our breathing, coughing, a few grunts of pain. And then came the clicking. Soft, rhythmic, unnatural. We froze. Out of the smoke, near the far hallway, I saw it again. The shimmer. The air seemed to start popping like a bad electrical panel, and the shimmer started to take shape. It was taller than any man, at least 7 feet. It wore armor on its shoulders, chest, arms, and legs that looked to be made of black steel and bone-like plating. On its head, it wore some type of helmet that covered its entire face. Its head was also rimmed with what looked to be dreadlock-like tendrils. It looked around the room and growled, deep and guttural, like a primal tiger. I saw a red light blinking from a device on its shoulder. Sergeant McCain fired first. The shot hit the creature's chest armor and ricocheted. Then the creature moved. It was faster than anything I'd ever seen. It was on McCain, in the blink of an eye, lifting him off the ground by the throat. McCain fired twice into its torso. No effect. The creature growled and drove a blade into McCain's gut. Blood sprayed. It tossed his now lifeless body like trash. The squad erupted into a frenzy. Muzzle flashes filled the room. Bullets sparked against walls and armor. The creature took all the punishment and moved, spinning like a whirlwind of death. One man ran and looked as if he would get away, when suddenly some type of weapon on the creature's shoulder spun on its own and fired at the man. What looked to be a bolt of lightning shot out and seared through his back, blowing a fist-sized hole through his chest. He collapsed, smoking. Another tried to flank with a shotgun, screaming as he charged. The creature turned and caught the barrel mid-swing. With as much effort as I would have crushing a dry leaf, the creature crushed the shotgun with a clawed hand before plunging its wrist blade through the man's neck. I crawled behind a steel support beam. My ribs were on fire, and I could no longer walk. My side was soaked in blood, and my vision swimming a bit. I watched, helpless, as the rest of the squad was cut down one by one. Blood slicked the floor. Smoke curled along the ceiling. The entire room was painted in ruin. Only 2 of us remained. One of them was me, broken, bleeding, barely able to lift my arm. And the other was Donovan. Donovan was the biggest guy in our squad, built like he was carved out of stone, the kind of guy who did pull-ups with gear still on. He stood between me and the creature, shaking, his face smeared with ash and blood. He looked around at the bodies of our squad, at McCain's slumped corpse, at the others torn apart, still steaming in pieces. And then he did something I'll never forget. He dropped his rifle. It clattered against the concrete, loud in the silence. He pulled his trench knife from his belt, thick, worn, sharpened to a savage point, and held it up in a reverse grip. "You want to fight?" Donovan growled, voice raw. "Come on, you son of a bitch." The creature stopped. It cocked its head, as if intrigued. Then slowly, it reached up to the sides of its head. Click. Hiss. Steam vented out around its helmet as it disengaged the locks. And then it lifted the mask away. Beneath it was no man, no animal. Its face was a nightmare, thick ridged forehead, deep-set yellow eyes, glistening mandibles, twitching like insect jaws. It looked at Donovan and smiled, or whatever that expression was. The helmet hit the floor with a thud, and then the creature let out a deep, echoing roar, a guttural scream so loud it shook dust from the rafters. That same sound I had heard earlier on the beach. It hadn't been a man dying. It had been this declaring the hunt. Donovan roared back and charged, not like a soldier, but like a berserker. They collided in a clash of flesh and armor, steel and fury. Donovan ducked under a swing and drove his knife into the creature's side. The blade bit deep between the plates, dark blood gushed out in a hiss. The creature howled, stumbling back. Donovan didn't let up. He surged forward, ramming the creature into the wall hard enough to break bone, then ripped the blade free and slashed across its midsection in a brutal arc. Sparks and blood flew. The creature struck back, hammering Donovan in the face with a backhand that sent him spinning. Blood sprayed from Donovan's nose, but he didn't fall. He shook it off and came in again, this time driving the knife into the creature's shoulder and twisting. The creature grabbed Donovan's arm, and with a twist, it dislocated Donovan's shoulder, the crack echoing like a snapped tree limb in the concrete bunker. Donovan screamed, dropped to one knee, pulling the knife out of the creature's shoulder as he went down. Donovan quickly switched the trench knife to his good arm and swiped out fast, carving a deep gash across the creature's thigh. It shrieked, stumbling slightly. For a moment, I thought Donovan might do it. He got to his feet and was fighting like a man who knew he was already dead and didn't care, all rage and instinct and blood, pressing the attack like a madman. Then the creature struck. A quick feint, then it slammed its fist into Donovan's gut, lifting him off the floor and driving him into the wall hard enough to crack the concrete. Donovan gasped, blood pouring from his mouth. Still, he tried to raise the knife for one last strike. The creature grabbed his wrist and drove its wrist blade through his chest. Donovan's eyes widened. He didn't scream. He just exhaled slow, defiant, and died on his feet. The creature dropped him like a sack of meat. Donovan hit the ground with a heavy thud, his body collapsing in a heap of muscle and blood, the trench knife still gripped loosely in his shattered hand. The creature didn't move for a moment. It stood over him, chest heaving, mandibles flexing in slow, deliberate pulses. Then it knelt beside the body, almost reverently. I watched, frozen from where I lay, breath shallow and pain flaring through my ribs with every movement. I knew I should look away, but I couldn't. The creature reached into a pouch on its belt and pulled out a curved, cruel-looking blade that was serrated black, humming with some kind of energy that made the air crackle. With a swift, practiced movement, it sliced deep into the base of Donovan's neck. There was no hesitation, no brutality. This was precise, like a surgeon. Then it gripped Donovan's body by the jaw and the base of the skull and pulled. There was a sickening crack as vertebrae snapped. The flesh tore away in wet strands. With one final jerk, the creature wrenched Donovan's skull free, spine still attached, long, red, and glistening. Blood dripped from the severed column, pooling beneath the body. The creature held the trophy high for a moment, admiring it, head tilted slightly, as though appreciating its form. It made a low rumbling sound from deep within its chest, a sound that could have been satisfaction. or a growl of possession. Then it clipped the skull and spine to its belt, beside several others that were strange-looking, older, and bleached. This creature had been doing this for a while, and had been doing it to things other than humans. The creature turned from Donovan's body, his blood still dripping from the long spine hanging at its side. It stepped toward me, slow, deliberate. My back was pressed to the wall, my body limp, breath shallow, hands slick with blood. My rifle was gone, my ribs broken, my side torn open. I was done. I knew it, and so did the creature. 3 red dots bloomed on my chest. I stared up into its face, the mandibles twitching slightly, the jaw working in slow pulses. Its chest rose and fell with a heavy, deliberate rhythm. Then it crouched, not to strike, but to look at me. Its yellow eyes locked on mine. And for the first time, I truly saw them. Not wild, not blind with rage, but sharp, ancient, calculating. There was something behind those eyes, not mercy, but understanding. Not emotion, but code. A set of rules older than war itself. I wasn't a threat. I couldn't fight. There was no challenge in me now, no glory. And it knew it. But more than that, in those seconds, as we stared at each other in the half-light of that blood-soaked bunker, I saw something else too. Recognition. It saw me. Not just a wounded soldier, a witness, a survivor, a teller of this story. The red dots vanished from my chest. It stood, never looking back. No hesitation, no fear, just a silent exit. As the creature turned, it changed himself to look like the shimmer again. It then vanished into the smoke, leaving nothing but silence and death in its wake. A few seconds later, the echo of American voices reached my ears. Boots, rifles, shouts. The reinforcements stormed in, only to find me barely conscious, slumped in a pool of blood beside a room full of butchered men. "What the hell happened here?" one asked. I couldn't answer, because I wasn't sure anyone would believe it. Whatever was on that beach with us that day, it wasn't human. And it didn't fight for a flag. It fought for the kill. 2 weeks later, at a field hospital in Normandy, an officer came to see me. He said we'd taken the beach, that we'd pushed through the bunkers, cleared the ridge, broken the German line. He said it was a victory and that all of us were heroes. But when I close my eyes, I don't see victory. I see it. I was evacuated 2 hours after they found me, barely conscious, lungs half full of smoke, and a hole in my side, big enough to feel the wind through. The medics said I was lucky, that I'd live. I didn't feel lucky. In the tent, they asked questions. What happened in the bunker? What happened to my squad? How did I survive when no one else did? I told them what I could. About German resistance, close-quarters fighting, smoke, and confusion. I didn't tell them about the shimmer in the air. I didn't tell them about the thing that watched me from the dark and chose not to kill me. And I sure as hell didn't tell them about Donovan and what was done to him. Who would believe me? So, I stayed quiet, let the war roll on without me. They said I'd be sent to England next, for rest, maybe back to the States, if the wound didn't heal right. They think my silence is shock or trauma. Honestly, it could be. But some nights, when the morphine fades and the lights are out, I hear that sound again, that unearthly guttural roar that echoed across the beach like a war cry from another world. And I wonder if it's still out there, still hunting. Because I don't think we scared it off. I think it just got what it came for.